What's up, YouTube? Today I'm just going to chat about a massive grail I recently acquired. Massive grail, really, to contextualize it, for myself it's a massive grail, so it's not necessarily something that everybody in the world would fucking go crazy over, but obviously for me it is. It's a significant book. It's very relevant to the foreign comic community, and it's also kind of the let's call it the grandfather or the grandmother or the grandparent of Australian prints of Marvel comics. So look, it's a massive book in terms of availability and accessibility. It's pretty much a ghost in the collecting world, even in Australia. I probably would know 4 or 5 people in Australia who own copies of it, and it's in varying states. So some of them might be actually a 6 or a 7, which is amazing, but they're more likely to be fucking toilet paper grade, so 0.5 or a 1 or whatever, right? Now, in terms of value, because of the scarcity of it, I've seen coverless go for 1,900. I've seen torn covers go for a couple of thousand. I've seen asking prices of 35,000. I've seen American speculation on high grades for millions. And it's purely because of the fact that, one, it's very significant in terms of foreign prints relative to the original American print in terms of timing. But also it's got a significant point of difference because it's printed in Australia, covered by an Australian artist, Maurice Bramley, who actually contributed quite a bit in that period to the superhero genre, despite the fact that he's not necessarily from that genre. And you can see that it's pretty evident in the art that it's not quite the proportion and the scope of the art that comes from America at that point in time. It was a little bit more picturesque and illustrated. So let's get into it. So first of all, let's knock off the obvious, where it all started. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is, one, this is probably the very first big book I spent cash on, around about the time when Netflix announced the Daredevil show. I thought, well, you know what, I've been collecting comics for years and years and years, but I've always paid cover price or gotten lucky in a bargain bin. This was the very first book that I bought, probably at GPA for 2.5 at that point in time. I think I paid 550 US. And I was shitting myself because at that point in time, I wasn't used to paying big money for big books. I'm very glad I did, because obviously it's one of those characters that resonates with everybody, including myself. But at the same time, you know, there's something special, and it's a great point of difference to a lot of the other Marvel stuff at that point in time, when it's a street level superhero, donning his bright yellows. Very cool book. Soon after, I got very lucky in America and eBay. I got another copy, but coverless. I got it in a lot. It was like a yard sale, in a jiffy bag, like a freezer bag, as you might call it. And paid $30 for the lot. So there were 6 books. This was one of them. As soon as it arrived, I sent it through to friends over in Queensland, because Stan Lee was coming to Australia at that point in time. So I got it signed by Stan. Halo did a Stanley Collectibles label, as you can see there, special for the event, and it was also the last time Stanley was in Australia. So again, despite the fact that it's a low grade beauty, very special to me because of the fact that, 1, I landed a bargain, 2, I got Stanley to sign a comic that I actually paid for and not bought it signed. Yeah, and 3, again, the fact that, you know what, it reminds you that you've got to keep hunting. So for me, those 2 books were always significant in my collection. They're not the biggest books I own, not the rarest books I own, but it started something for me in the journey of collecting. After that, obviously, over the past few years, I've gotten into, especially the Australian market, and dabbling in foreign books. I've got a few, I'm not going to spend too much time on them, but I've got some of the few foreign prints of the Italian ones. Oh, sorry, of the Sonderfrier, so that's probably German or Dutch. Anyway, cool book. And the UK one. Again, the UK one being kind of newspaper print. It's not very valuable, but at the same time, great condition, so I'm very happy to own it. Now let's get to the Australian ones. Australia, similar to many of the other countries, it's kind of a funny thing that the countries tend to do, where when they started a series #1, they gave no shits around continuity. They gave no shits around accuracy around if this cover belongs to that comic or whatever. They just said, you know what can we find to print next fucking week? So let's chuck it on the printer. So Federal, point in case, came along early 80s. They printed Daredevil 1 and they started with this. They call it The Origin of Daredevil. I think it issued 133 or something with the skeleton off the top of my head. So there was really nothing significant in terms of content, but at the same time, you know, it's a nice little #1, and it's actually the first one that Australia did that was comic size. So it fits in the normal box, which is cool. They're not too expensive. I think I bought this for $12, but I think they're probably $20-30, depending on the grade. You might pay a little bit more. Nice book to have. The actual series is cool. They changed the paper stock midway through. There's feature stories like Death of Elektra. There's a few cool key moments in Daredevil's history that's printed in Federal that makes it cool. But they don't demand the appeal or the love that the Newtons and the Yaffas do. Now, talking about Yaffa, if we go backwards chronologically or dechronologically, prior to that, 1977, Daredevil came along. Now, this is actually Daredevil 1 and 2 in the same book. They chose, again, to use cover #2. I've actually got the French-Canadian one too. I didn't bring it out for this, but same thing. They used cover 2, and it also includes issue 1 and 2. So what makes this really cool is they've recolored it quite a bit, and they made Daredevil red for it. So it is a great point of difference. Despite the fact that it's not issue 1's cover, it has got quite a sexy appeal to it because of the contrasting reds and yellows on top of that dark cover. I really like this. It's got 25 written on there. I really like this. Again, not the most amazing book, but semi tough to find. The Newtons are probably a little bit more common to find than the Yaffas. Once again, similar to the X-Men movie, the X-Men video I did. Purely because of the fact that I think Newton print runs were optimistic. These guys were more realistic in the market and the amount of books that they were printing. So really cool book, really cool covers. Unfortunately not issue 1's cover, but you know what, I love the Electro cover, so for me this is very, very, very cool. Now going back 1 year, so 1 year between this and Newton, this came out. My covers are worn to shit, and again, think about it, 50 years ago, all these were seen as, you know what, it's a reprint. It's made to be read and loved and thrown away. You can pull out the posters and chuck it on your wall. You can pull out the cards. You can take off some of them had shit like iron-on shit stuff at the back. So despite the fact that loads were printed, there's not a lot of high-grade copies fully intact with posters and everything. So for me, this is hopefully a placeholder. I'll get another one day. But I think it's complete. You can see the poster in there. So for me, it's okay. Despite being low grade, I've got a complete copy. Again, they mess with the colors a little bit and it makes it a little bit more interesting. And actually Daredevil pops quite well with the yellow suit on the blue background. Very nice book. Also calling out Spider-Man and Fantastic Four as these predecessors. Now the Belle of the Ball, the book I picked up yesterday, printed by Horwitz, 1965. I double checked before I started the video. It was probably around 8 months after the American counterpart that this book was printed. Now, they scares as fuck. like I said in the opening scene, the Maurice Bramley did the art for the cover, so it's a very neat point of difference. He's literally redrawn the first page onto the cover, and gave it a little bit of a, I don't know, illustrative feel to it. This is pretty much it. Check it out. Now this is poor as fuck, but all pages are there. Staples are fully intact, both sides. Check the covers and the interiors. It's up to the center wrap. So it'll probably grade a 1. But I've been looking for this for about 7 years. I've been offered once or twice, and then the buyers got cold feet over the past few years. I've missed out on 1 or 2 on Facebook and eBay auctions. I think the most recent one with a detached cover went for $2.5 grand. In poorer shape than this too. So very happy to land this. I'd love to own 2 of them. I'd love to own a high grade of them, purely because of the significance and the aesthetics of this book. It's just absolutely amazing. But look, for me, it's a starter copy, and I will hold on to it fucking dear life until I find a higher grade or own 2, which is great. So that's pretty much it. I'm not going to open it up because it is pretty brittle. But it's black and white interiors, full story. And on the back page, there's like a creator-owned feature of a character. So all the Horwitz comics at that point in time did it. So Horwitz said, we've got to have 1 page of local content. So with both Daredevil, Strange Tales, Sergeant Fury, and Avengers, you'll have the full original story with a local story as a backup at the back. Talking about that, I'll show off the Avengers one next time around. So I've got a copy of that too. One of my special comics in my collection. But yeah, no, I'm glad I got this. Very happy to be celebrating this today. I actually have the day off, so I'm just going to stare at it. Amazing book. Love it to bits. Thanks for watching if you've watched this far. I might do a feature on the Avengers ones next time around. Talk through that a little bit. But feel free to ask questions in the comments if you have anything. Give me ideas for anything else that I might pop up on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.